probably be some more folks sliding in at some point in time. So we need to go on and get started. Ellis, would you mind saying a prayer for us, please?
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day and the opportunity to come and meet the challenge that we have laid out before us. We ask for your guidance. We ask for the courage to be able to make the decisions that have to be made. We ask for the wisdom to be able to understand what the right decisions are. Forgive us of our sins. Guide us as we go into the coming days that others can see your love reflected in our words and deeds. All of this we pray in thy holy name. Amen.
Thank you, sir. A couple things have changed since we met before. We have a new member to the Ag Committee, Robert Dickey. Raise your hand, Robert. He that Peach Grove, big preachers from down in New Orleans. And we're glad to have a farmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Glad to be here.
Tracy Atchison is the one doing all the work, handing out stuff. She is our new committee aide. Tracy, raise everybody. And I'm going to tell you what, I get summaries on bills before I even know there's a bill been introduced. So she keeps us playing. They're not in lawyer language. They're in language we can all understand. Our new attorney is Jeremy Ayer. Jeremy, raise your hand. You know, Wayne Allen was ours, and he moved up to be head of lead council over there. So Jeremy is come off a farm from Virginia, right?
Correct.
So he understands agriculture a little bit too. We're lucky to have somebody that does. Silas Harrington is a new intern for this year. Silas is daddy, and I go way back as far as some Farm Bureau stuff goes. So he understands ag too. And as always, the one that runs the whole show down there is this little blonde sitting next to me. Y'all all know who to go to whenever you need something. The House Ag Committee. I'm going to swap the schedule around a little bit because Gary Black and Dean Angle will come in to talk to us. But some of us are going to have to go to Rules Committee, and I want to go and get a couple of these bills talked about. The first one is House Bill 409. It's Dr. Maddox's, and it's a recommit that we have to do because it didn't get all the way through last year. All we got to do is recommit it. We passed it out unanimous last year. And so Doc, talk into that microphone over there, please.
Okay. Okay, maybe y'all can hear me here. As Mr. Chairman said, this is a bill that recommitted. It passed out last year and got to rules, and because of day 30 didn't make it any further, so we're bringing it back. Its purpose is simply to amend Article 3 of Chapter 50 in the Title 43, and what it's going to do is going to be letting the board be relieved of the duty of having to approve these people. So I'm going to read what I got down here just a second. It provides that if the board determines that an applicant possesses proper qualification, it shall admit the applicant for the next exam. And what the board has asked us to do is they want to agree that this portion be changed to allow the veterinary student himself to make a direct national board application. And what it will do, if it passes, this bill will simply remove the duty of the board to adopt then the applicant's possessing proper qualification and admission for these are denied, and it will allow the applicant to make his own request. So that's all the bill does, and appreciate y'all give me a favorable vote if there's no questions.
Anybody got any questions? The motion?
Move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I reckon we're looking at you one more time.
See if we can get out of rules next time.
House Bill 681, Representative Dixon. You want to talk to us a little bit about what you're doing?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members.
Ms. Pam, get a mic, please, man, so that, these things have to be on TV.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. I'd like to thank you for having me at this committee meeting this morning about Bill 681. This bill will allow nonprofits to conduct food tasting events without participating restaurants and food vendors from obtaining a special permit. They have got to fill out a 28-page application, submit the application 30 days prior to the event. This event it would also help schools, because when the schools have their fundraisers and they have their taste of events, food is sold at these particular events, and it helps them in terms of their fundraising. I did talk to the Department of Agriculture, and they gave me a green light on this. Department of Public Health, they have some recommended changes. I would also like to submit those changes from the Department of Public Health to you in terms of this bill. They're line 54 and line 58 of this bill. I don't have enough copies, but I do have some that I can pass out. You have copies? Okay, thank you. Of this bill. So with those changes, I would like for those changes to be put into the bill. You don't have the changes? Okay, here's line 54. It has or any outdoor or indoor event other than school cafeteria food service, in parentheses, private school function. That would be added to line 54. Line 58, it as is an authorized part of and occurs upon the site of a fair or festival or special event, which, and it reads further on line 58. Those were the changes that the Department of Public Health asked that I make, and I'm fine with those changes, and so are they in terms of the bill with some clarity. Yes, that is it. I ask for your favorable consideration in passing this bill out of committee.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody have any questions?
So this will protect our 4-H clubs and FFA clubs. There may be an area where they will want to look upon them unfavorably. Would it not?
Would it help the 4-H clubs?
Well, protect them from and FFA and these local school clubs,
Right.
smart nonprofits,
Right.
from inspection.
Yes, it would. Yes, yes, yes. It would be. It would help.
Anybody else? Anybody in, excuse me, anybody in the audience have anything else they want to ask? Scott, you got anything?
Make a motion to pass.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next little piece of legislation we need to look at before we get into the other stuff is one that was requested by the Vidalia Onion Council and Grower. And basically what it deals with is a change on the royalties. If you look at the copy of House Bill 832 that's ahead, you see the strike-through language on line 15 and 16. Hit that mic. But don't y'all love TV? Have to fool with all this stuff. Anyway, the Vidalia, like I said, the Vidalia Onion Council asked for it. The Department of Ag's okay with it, and what it basically does is change the way that the royalty fees are collected. This fee thing was probably 10 years old, and it brings it more in line with the way most royalties are done today. Also, just to give you an example, if 6 ounces of Vidalia onions happen to be in a product, it costs a nickel every 6 ounces. A lot of companies are not using the word Vidalia on their label, which is kind of reverse to what the marketing wants to be. This will allow companies to go on and use the Vidalia name, which is what they want to use, instead of just putting sweet onions on it. And I'm going to let Mr. Bob Stafford from the Vidalia Onion Council talk to you about why they want it. And Sidney, if y'all want to say something from the department, it'll be fine. And then if you got any questions, we'll take them. Whatever you want to do. Yeah, I guess you need to come up here so they can get you on camera. Mr. Bob, you too, if you don't mind.
This legislation only deals with the royalty and the Vidalia trademark itself. So when a food manufacturer makes a business decision to use the Vidalia trademark, currently he has to, or she has to figure out the amount of Vidalia onion in that final product. Most royalty agreements now are done based on the annual profit. And that's what we are proposing here, is that the commissioner along with the advisory council have the flexibility to negotiate so that the Vidalia trademark is used by food manufacturers. And like the chairman said, currently there are some food manufacturers choosing to use Vidalia onions, but labeling it as sweet onion salad dressing instead of using Vidalia because of this formula. Did I get it right, Mr.
That's
Secretary?
correct. We just wanted to give the commissioner the flexibility to use the right procedure for charging the oil, for the fund. And we have an advisory panel. We happen to have the chairman, Bo Hearn, is the chairman of our advisory panel with us to advise the commissioner as to what we want as an industry. And we certainly appreciate the legislators looking after this trademark for us. It's been real good for the industry. We're the only commodity in the world, I suppose, that has a trademark like this. It's only this strong because of you folks helping us protect it. That's how come the state of Georgia got the trademark. The growers saw the need to let the legislators help them with it to protect it. We've done a heck of a good job with it. It's working, and we just need this change here for the flexibility to do a better job and keep the people that are using this trademark. They're using it real heavy. They really like it. It's good for them. But we have to keep it worth something. It's got to be important for them to want to use it. And we appreciate you. If you go along with this, we would appreciate it.
Oh, you want to say anything?
Well, it's just been a good thing for us, and we have to have this to protect the trademark because, the other countries and other places growing onions, everybody's competing against us now. And I mean, when I first started growing onions 30 years ago, we had the best onion, and now everybody's trying to grow a sweet onion, and it's a sweet onion category, and it puts a lot of competition out there, and it's just drove the market to this trademark to have it like this. And if we didn't have this royalty funds to do it, and if we didn't have y'all helping us look after it, it'd get away from us, and we just really need to.
Some of y'all don't remember, 15 or so years ago, we went through a whole rigmarole with some other counties and all wanting to come into the Vidalia area, but it got protected. So this kind of goes along with that, even though this trademark's not that old. But does anybody have any questions for Sidney or Mr. Bob or Bo or me or anybody?
I do. Just we've talked about this much in the last day or two, but I think everybody wants to protect the trademark. I think I do. I know I do, and I value for this to the industry. But the question I had was on the manufacturers. We want people to use the trademark, use the onions. And my question was, is there going to be a criteria or framework that a manufacturer and user will have out and know when they know what to expect to pay for this royalty and how it's going to be applied? That's been my question all along. It seems kind of vague, even on the advisory side. I don't see a framework that's so we know what to expect and what royalties will be, so people can anticipate it. Even from year to year, they're going to be allowed to change. That's the question I have.
It's once it's set, once the commissioner and the food manufacturer agree on an amount, would that change? Is that what you're asking?
That's one. Mine's about the framework of how you're going to decide what the royalty will be year to year and how it's set up.
We would like the royalty agreement to be based on the end product, the total revenue. And group, the commissioner along with the advisory council would come up with that, and certainly they want to use it.
Mr. Chairman?
Help yourself.
And to Representative Justice's question, and other than Representative Harden, I had some. There you go. We talked before breakfast just a second ago. What we're trying to move to, y'all, is not making things more complicated. It actually simplifies the issue. And it will allow us to get more Vidalia Onion products into the marketplace because of the convoluted way this is computed now. This was based upon the assumption that every market would be a 6-ounce something. It's way back when. And there's so many products now. We sell these in the Vidalia Onions are kind of sold in a slurry. There's a way to market them. This will allow us to do is get into the regulatory scheme so that we can sit down with folks and work out some agreeable levels. We've got not a consultant, but a friend who has Vidalia Onion marketing background, who also has significant background in trademark usage with Nike and other people that make it a more simple opportunity to use the Vidalia name and yet have a simple calculation of what those will be in the future. So to the question, we don't have those scales actually made out yet. So we want to sit down with the industry and find out what are the marketable levels so that they would have certainty. You're not going to have uncertainty from this department when it comes to these royalty collections. But also I put this to you as well. You're no longer going to have uncertainty as to how they're spent. Because the first time in the history of this department, 11-member panel of growers we've assembled in the past years to come together and work with the department, even though it's technically the department's money. It's by law. It's been spent in some ways that don't have anything to do with Vidalia Onions. And that's another discussion we can have at another time that we just discovered yesterday. And so what we're trying to do is get the calculation simple. Get the industry to agree, and then hopefully open up the opportunities, because there are people that walk away from this now because of this. They say, we don't use Vidalia Onions, it's too complicated. And so I apologize to the members of the committee. Maybe we didn't, from a standpoint of if we were confusing about that, that's our fault. We won't certainly answer any questions for anybody chance to vote. I'm absolutely convinced this simplifies and actually factors into a repeal. We're trying to get away from Matthew Kalinsky, where you at? Yeah. How many paragraphs? How much?
It's to explain how we calculate that royalty fee for any retailer or processor. The rules section is currently 3 pages to explain that. Because the way the rules written, or the statute's written right now, is very vague. So you have that portion thereof. It's not clear what that portion thereof is of. Is it of onions? Is it of a final product? It's not clear. Also, how we weigh it. Is it in pounds? I mean, it's in ounces, but is that weighted ounces? Is that fluid ounces? It's very difficult to calculate. You have trouble selling it to processors that want to use Vidalia Onions.
So our hope is, maybe before we did the bill, maybe we'll have had some of those rules laid up. But actually, what we're hoping to do is sit down with the industry and figure out exactly what are some of the other trends and other logos and trademarks for marketing, and try to emulate that, as opposed to just the one thing getting stuck in the law and then we're trying to figure it out. And the rest of the industry, a lot of people just literally walk away. They don't want to put Vidalia Onions because it's too complicated. But that was sure our intent. I apologize if we confused the thing at all. And we, certainly, Mr. Chairman, yield to what you want to do and none of the committee. We don't want anybody to be. This is one of those we hope we can get it to a point where everybody, if we can adequately answer those questions.
Mr. Chairman. Yes. I did have some questions, and basically to make sure that the state wasn't getting involved in agribusiness too much. But Sidney and Commissioner Black have answered all my questions, and this is a good bill. At the right time, I'd like to make a motion to pass.
Now would be a real good time unless anybody else got any questions.
I got an observation, and that is, I do feel it's a good idea for us to change the way in which it is codified, or the way that we go about it. But it seems as if this is what it appears to me that we did. We moved from statute, that the legislature did have a part in determining how we went about calculating it, to now it's like we don't know how it might calculate, because while we wish you to be here at least 40 years, we want you to break it's a funny thing about politics. Once you leave, people forget your name, you know. He was the longest service constitutional officer in the world, so so we want you to have a 10-year.
Take them one day at a time.
But if it changed, then the way in which we would go about doing that, I think it leads to us not having any more input on it. I like the idea, because there's no need in having a trademark and charging a fee if people don't want to pay it, or if they don't understand how. Would it be, if we move forward with this, could you all come back and let us know how you're doing what you're doing, and then let's see if we can try to codify that into law, so it will be, everybody will be understood throughout the state, throughout the nation, throughout the legislature, how we're going to address that.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I think I'm correct, Mr. Dukes, in saying if we have this, that regulation come back to you anyway, if you see. We do those things, they come back to they under the oversight of this committee anyway.
Okay.
And so it's a matter of us to publish them and get them back to y'all. And they a lot of things under administrative, your rules, that if you don't like that, I'll be the first one to find out. And I'll be the first one to make sure that and we'd invite members of the committee to be involved in the regulatory process. That, our objective is not to do something. My objective is to get away from the making all the decisions in a room over here where nobody else knows what's going on. Because that's what's been happening with this fund. Our objective is transparency, and getting people to the table to decide how we can grow the Vidalia Union business, not limit it, and how we can get away from a state bureaucracy that's quite frankly constricted the marketplace. That's, Mr. Chairman, that's our goal, and we'd be happy to work any member of the committee interested in doing that.
We do appreciate that, and what you do over at the commission.
Anybody else?
Have any? In the end, Mr. Bob, tell me if I'm wrong, this is going to get the Vidalia name on a heap more products. The growers want this.
Absolutely.
And it's not costing the growers a nickel.
No, we never thought this would be as effective as it is. And people are clamoring to use that because it's worth something. And it's only worth something because y'all are helping us protect it. It's very protected, and that's what we want to keep, And we do need to make this little change here, but it's good. And the growers are in favor of it. We're all in favor of it. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I move to pass.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, thank y'all. We got to do one thing. Our appointment on the Georgia Seed Development Commission has always been the president of Georgia Farm Bureau, Zippy Duval. His time is up, and I talked to him the other day, and he said he's now learning the process and would like to be reappointed now that he understands it better. If
Make a motion.
got a motion and I need a second. All right, all in favor of appointing Mr. Duval back on the Seed Development Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. A couple of things before some of the committee members go. We sent out a little deal asking anybody that might want to contribute to a little flower fund that we kind of keep for the committee. Got a note here from Representative Tankersley. It's what we do with that money now. Pat takes care of it. Please convey my sincere thanks to the Agriculture Committee for the lovely plan. It was a great joy. It is a great joy for me to serve with a group of men and women like this. And also from Representative Burns, thank you all very much for the flowers you sent. When my father died, it meant a great deal to hear from friends during this sad time. My father was a great role model for many, and although he was more than ready, we are missing his absence on the farm and at his home of 94 years. Sincerely, John. So that's where y'all's little contribution. And somebody's in the hospital. It's a family member, Rick, of the Ag Committee. We kind of try to let y'all know we thinking about you. Two things tonight, the College of Ag Advisory Council down at the depot, 5:30 to 7:30 tonight. All of y'all's invited. Georgia Green Industry Day at the Capitol is February the 15th, and Georgia Farm Bureau Day at the Capitol is February the 14th. In your folder, you can thank Pat for this. It's a thing in there about a telephone deal. And somehow or another, they are letting telemarketers get a hold of your cell phone number. And all this is, you know, we consumer affairs too. We just trying to protect you. So if y'all are calling, and Pat checked it out on, what do you call it, Snoops or Snopes or whatever it is, and it's a for real deal. So if y'all are call this number, it goes to the Federal Telecommunications or something other, and they'll get you on a no-call list, so telemarketers can't call you and you get charged on your cell phone bill for them trying to sell you something. Anybody in the audience want a copy, we'll get you this phone number too. Just trying to look after folks. You will, I thank Pat, she's the one who came up with this. You'll see also in your folder a list of the subcommittee bill assignments and the subcommittee that you may be on. And at this time, also look in your folder. Gary, you ready? You will see a piece of paper that looks like this. It's the actual code section about the seal of the state of Georgia. And what Gary is giving you, if you will read the code section, the part that says agriculture and commerce is actually the front of the seal. The reverse of the seal is the one with the 3 arches on it. So, Gary, if you want to talk just a second about what you passing out.
You got it out now,
y'all read the code section. That'll tell you how important agriculture was to the founding fathers of this state back.
Well, the code is very, the code is real interesting. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for inviting us to come just give this little quick deal. It's a real fun thing to use in Rotary clubs and out across the state. Because I discovered it about 3 years ago. I don't know what we were starting to do about 3 years ago, but we just found it one day. It was a good kind of a good thing to bring people. If you're trying to find that touch with somebody that's not involved in agriculture, it's a good way to do it. And the section just simply says in the first paragraph, there shall be a seal, and Secretary of State shall keep it. And if I believe the notation is that was the last site for that was 1914. That means what happened was then is it was changed from the date that you see on it was actually originally 1789. The only thing that changed in 1914 is they changed the date back to 1776. So that having been said, this has never been changed. In the history, as long as we've had sure does show us that it was important to our forefathers, and there's no doubt it's important to our future. So I thank you for and we brought this back on everything we do, and it's a good story to tell the general public. Something maybe that all of you could use back home. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Those pens that he gave you, I can't keep them. Folks keep wanting them, and I pull them off of my coat and hand them to them, and because they say it's the prettiest pen they've seen lately. And one more thing, I got Brian Kemp some little granite circles engraved with both sides of the seal. And since he's a keeper of the seal, he does tend to agree with me that the front of the seal has agriculture and commerce written on it if you read the code. So, Gary, thank you for doing that. Dean Angle, are you ready? While he's coming, Frank Watson, where are you at? Have they all got a copy of this, or you got them in a box back there?
I got them in a box, and I didn't know if you wanted me to just give them the size. I had them boxed up where if it was raining, they would get y'all in good condition. Of course, I couldn't get in here with a knife. I'm assuming y'all probably didn't bring a knife.
I got a couple, but that'd be good. Frank is the Wilkes County extension agent, and you know we always try to get y'all a copy of the farm gate. And he went by and picked them up yesterday or something and brought them up here to you. He is one of my extension agents, or I'm one of his representatives, whichever way you want to look at it. But Frank, thank you for bringing those. We use them all the time. And Dean, you gonna talk about this stuff?
Yes, sir.
These. So while he's handing them out, Dean Angle, thank you for coming to tell us about what's going on at the college. And I want everybody in here to understand that if it wasn't for the college he's fixing to talk about, there wouldn't be no football team, basketball team, University of Georgia at all. If it wasn't for the college that this guy...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your time. We have just concluded with our Georgia agricultural forecast. I hope each one of you has one of these. If you don't, I have plenty more with me. And if you need any more, just let me know and I can get you these. You also have an agricultural snapshot, which is one of the more useful documents in agriculture. This is a very simplified look at total agricultural productivity. The good news that came out of the forecast this year is that last year was a record for agricultural productivity and in many ways profitability. The forecast is that this year and next year ought to continue to be very, very good years. The only sector of Georgia agriculture that still has some issues will be poultry, as you know, because of the input costs, and as long as we believe in the midterm, if we can get the input prices down, corn prices in particular, our poultry industry, which makes up about 46% of the total ag economy, it ought to come roaring back very quickly, and so we're hopeful that they will get back into in profitability here very soon. The advantage of agriculture in Georgia and why we are where we are is that we've always been on the leading edge of technology. We'll never compete with the Chinese for low land values, for low labor costs, for inaction on regulatory affairs. Our only advantage is that we have been on that cutting edge of technology, and that in many ways comes through our ability to research and to teach agriculture through the college, through ABAC, through Fort Valley, and even with Berry College to some extent. So we do believe we're an important part of our industry. Keep in mind, unlike Ford Motor Company or Boeing or Lockheed Martin, there is no in-house R&D organization for agriculture because of its disparate nature. And so that typically falls to the Agricultural Experiment Station and the Extension Service to deliver that information around the state. Now, it is true, just like every state agency, we have suffered our fair share of cuts. We've had a 25% budget cut over the last 3 years. The impacts of that have been significant, and it has impacted many of your constituents. And in fact, I've heard from many of you about those impacts. We have lost many of our very best faculty. Some of these faculty work on critical areas. Insect pests and peanuts come to mind. Right now we've got several new insects in that commodity, and we have no entomologists capable of dealing with these new and emerging pests. Our extension programs in particular have been a hard hit. We now have 31 counties that do not have any permanent agricultural agent associated with that county. 31 counties without any agent. We have 107 counties. We have 107 agricultural agents for 159 counties. We have 77 4-H agents and 34 family and consumer science agents. So as you can see, our numbers in many ways have been hit very hard. We're doing our best to try to normalize our resources to get the most bang for the buck. We have implemented a process in extension where we've actually allowed some of our extension agents to move around the state, often moving from some of the smaller counties to the larger ag counties for agricultural agents. It's a good process, it's justifiable, but having said that, I also fully acknowledge that we have probably been moving agents out of some of the very smallest and very poorest counties that may need those agents more than others. And so we're doing our best to get the most resources to the most people, but I fully acknowledge that we've had to hurt some people within the state by doing this. I do want to thank you all for your support. Even with the 25% budget cut, I know it could have been worse, and I know that many of you in here have worked hard to try to protect educational budgets and agricultural education in particular. So I am grateful for what everyone on this committee have done, Mr. Chairman. You all are great friends of agriculture, and I know that you have worked tirelessly to try to protect the largest and the greatest industry of the state of Georgia. Talking about some of the impacts on the college of these budget cuts, we have record enrollment in the College of Agriculture. We're at around 2,000 undergraduate students now, 350 graduate students. It continues to grow. We are very happy with that. We are still importing college-educated graduates collectively into the state of Georgia. So ABAC, University of Georgia, Fort Valley, Berry College still do not teach enough students in this state to meet our workforce demands. For us, it's become particularly vexing because as our budgets have been cut and we've had fewer and fewer faculty, at the same time we've had more and more students. Our classes are now getting to the point where they're larger than we would like to have. And we want to protect that small college feel that some of you who have been college graduates understand so well. We are not a college of 10,000 students where you're just a number. College of Agriculture has a very personal relationship with each student. We have something called the Dean's Promise, which is a promise on my part to every student that they will have a personalized experience far beyond the classroom. It's study abroad, it's a job in the field, it's a job in the laboratory, it's club leadership, it's a DC internship, it's an internship overseas. But we want to make sure each one of our students has this personal attention, and we continue to have very good placements. We rank number 2 at the University of Georgia for placement of students post-graduation. We also have the second highest starting salary beyond the professional programs of any college at the University of Georgia. Again, on the research side, because we have lost so many faculty, there are a number of critical issues that we have not been addressing. And as we go forward, we would hope that if the economy does continue to improve, that you will find the ability to help replace some of the lost resources, particularly in high, very, very important areas. Two different issues I want to bring to your attention. Our big problem in the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences is a lack of appropriate M&O funding. This goes back to a 1997 study by the House that looked at our infrastructure and the cost of it. And the goal was to restore M&O funding so that we would not have to eat up our program dollars and position dollars simply to pay our electric bills and keep the lawns mowed, which we are having to do now. And so in our budget request, we have a significant it's a significant request to begin the process of getting us up to the 1997 identified M&O appropriation. We know that none of this can happen in a single year, but we would like to begin the process as soon as possible. Governor Perdue began this process about 4 years ago, and we had 2 good years of M&O increases. In the third year, that was when the recession hit us all, and we had to give up those funds pretty much all at once, and so we are back to ground zero. We will be looking at another infrastructure study over the course of the year, where we will conduct an inventory of all of our property. We believe we probably have a little less space to care for than we did in 1997. On the other hand, we probably have more high-value space than we did at that time, probably fewer barns and more laboratories. But this is something that we will be updating through a physical survey rather than simply the 97 update, which has been a paper update each year. The other thing which you might be hearing about is many of the commodity groups are concerned with some of the positions that support their industries. And so I suspect that you may be hearing from soybean growers or peanut growers, poultry industry, asking for restoration of funds for a particular faculty or specialist position within the college. And we'll leave that up to you to decide. Okay, thank you. Obviously, they're passionate about these positions because, as I said at the outset, this is what keeps you on the technology cutting edge through the research and the extension back onto our farms. So with that, I'm just going to stop and see if there are any questions that I can answer for you. Once again, I want to thank you all for all that you've done for the college. We know these have been tough times, and we know you've had many, many challenges, but we appreciate the support that you have provided us in a variety of different ways. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I know you got a humongous task trying to combine everything, and this out in the state that the college has to deal with. It's not like a business college over there, because you have people all over the state that come under your purview, all the buildings, all the experiment stations, everything, instead of all located on the campus. So we appreciate all you do with less and less that you have, and we appreciate all the people that work for you doing what they do and taking up the slack, and it's not easy. I understand that. We all understand that. Ellis, you had a question, please, sir?
Yes, thank you, Dean, for being here with us. If we can find some more money, or at any time now or in later years, what's the system you have in mind to use to determine where to put additional agents?
I've been real happy with our process. Again, if you're in a small poor county, you're probably not happy with the process. But what we did was to develop a formula that looked at a number of factors, which then allowed us to make these very important decisions. It looks at things like the amount of county money that is put into a position, the number of 4-H'ers, the size of the agricultural industry in that county. And there are 3 or 4 other factors that go into this equation. And from that, we're able to rank all of our counties. And so when we, 3 years ago, when we began to reduce the number of agents around the state, that formula directed us and advised us where to remove agents from and where to make sure we kept those agents in because of this equation. We'll use the same formula when we begin to replace agents back into the counties. We already know which ones need an agent first and which ones are lower down the list. It's the exact same formula that we will be using for both growing and for shrinking.
And you mentioned in the amount of county support. Now, are you talking about in absolute dollars, or are you talking about in support per capita in that county?
No, these are absolute dollars. Each county and let me back up. I've been very happy with the counties maintaining their support for cooperative extension during this time, almost to a county, despite the fact that we have had to pull state resources. They have either continued to fund their programs and their agents, and occasionally have actually stepped up to replace lost state dollars using county funds. But we do have a number of counties, and Chairman Bullock just yesterday asked me to get a list of the number of counties where we no longer have an agent in that county, but the county has maintained its support. It's essentially vacant, and they're holding those dollars for us right now. And I thought it was probably around 20. I'm told by our county extension or our director for county programs that's probably closer to 30 or above. So 30 counties have extension agents where they have county funds ready to go as soon as state dollars can be replaced back into those positions.
One of the things I have observed in looking at the local support is some of the smaller counties, and population-wise, of some our major concentrations of agricultural productions and have the greatest need for particularly ag agents, and their per capita contribution is very substantial, but may not be as much on an absolute dollar as some of the larger counties that have got more urban and a much broader tax base, but less need, particularly in ag agents.
Yes, sir, and that is true. The formula that we use doesn't just look at agricultural productivity or profitability. If we had done that, as has been suggested, then we would have all of our extension agents probably concentrated in 10 or 15 counties of the state, the big ag counties. North Georgia related only to poultry, and in South Georgia to the big row crop farms. And so that's why we've added some factors in there that help weight that to distribute some of those positions more broadly around the state. But you are correct. If it's a county that does not rise high in any of these indicators that I mentioned, it will fall low on our tiered system, and when that position becomes vacant, it most likely in the short term, that person will not be replaced. And so I fully admit that that is a problem, and we're still doing the best we can with the resources that we have to reach the most people and touch the greatest part of our economy within the state.
Where are we headed with the family and consumer science programs?
Well, we're down to 34 agents, and there I think we are looking at more of a regional type of system for family and consumer science delivery. Clearly for agriculture, the county model in Georgia there's no better model anywhere in the country. For 4-H, I think that probably also applies. The county delivery model is probably as good as it gets. Our 4-H program is admittedly the best in the country. By the way, our extension program probably ranks number 1 or 2 nationally. The College of Agriculture ranks number 4 as a whole nationally. So it's a jewel for the state system. But because we have so few family and consumer science agents, they are evolving to a different model that looks at multiple counties, what we used to call the cluster model. We're trying not to use that word because it was so unpopular at the time. But the fact is we really don't have any other choice for when you only have 34 agents for a state with 159 counties.
A while ago you mentioned about the 4-H agent. Now these are not the program assistants that you're talking about. These are graduates, ag graduates, or certified, I reckon maybe is the term you use?
Yes, sir. These are agricultural agents with either a BS or MS degree and trained in some area that is of use to youth development.
How many program assistants do we have?
I don't know that number exactly. It's a lot less than 107, though. We also have a third category which we have implemented in some counties where we had no agents and no program assistants. And what it did was essentially to take a secretarial position and move that up to a slightly higher level so that they could help provide advice as given to them by others, so they can collect and receive and submit soil samples. They can collect information. When they have a question, they can get the answer from another county and then deliver it back to the person who asked that question. So in many ways, we have 3 levels of program delivery now in extension, with the extension agent still being the senior level.
How effective do you feel that these program assistants have been in carrying out the 4-H program?
It's always a mixed bag, but I can tell you from most people that I talk to, they are thrilled with their program assistant. They work just as hard, they work just as many hours, and they deliver just as effective programs as our trained county extension agents.
That's been my observation, so I'll put in a good word for those people too. And so, but anyway, I appreciate you information, and we'll try to work on our part of that question I started out with about trying to get some more money.
Appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dean, I'm glad I'm not in your position, but I've been around here for 20 years, and I've been on the Ag Committee for 20 years, and Chairman McCall is my third chairman, and we've gone through this over and over and over again. One of my concerns is small counties who are more in need of agents sometimes than wealthier counties, because technology in wealthier counties can be accessed by some of the farmers. Now, one of the things I did just before you come on board, I had to go to the governor because my county was without an agent, and Governor Perdue got me an agent. And one of the things I realized is my agents work as hard as anybody in the state of Georgia. They don't look at a time clock. They don't quit when 5 o'clock comes. They go till in the dark. I've used them. My real concern is there any way you look at your budget, reassess some things that are not quite as important, and make sure that money is there available for agents, because the need is there. The absence of county agents is going to cause our agriculture industry to go deeper in the hole and get stronger.
We constantly reassess our formula that we use to make decisions, but let me also say the way we trimmed our rolls of employees, we've lost about 370 employees out of the College of Agriculture over the last 3 years, many of them in extension. When you look, we have lost more than half of all the employees that the University of Georgia alone has lost from in my college. We did this by an incentive to retire, and so what we have done is we've reached out into the future, and anyone who is close to retirement, in fact we have some examples in this room, they went ahead, they have retired. But we have, because it was not a strategic process in any way, it was simply who had worked for probably 30 years if they were on federal retirement. It made no sense actually to work beyond that because you'd start to lose money. We've overshot our goal a little bit. We've actually got more people to retire than what we needed. We didn't have the ability to say, we would like you to retire and you can't retire. That gets me into the lawyer's office very quickly. So we overshot our goal. But because of that, we're actually hiring a little less than a dozen extension agents as we speak. And we've been doing that over the last couple months, and we will continue to add a few more agents back into our system, which will help. And then in the long run, we still would hope that this committee and the other appropriations committee can help to restore some of these funds so that we can have more of a permanent solution to all of the county's problems and not just some.
Thank you.
So I appreciate your comments, so they are well taken.
In case any of y'all getting nervous, that ain't the AJC, WSB. That's
good.
A farm bureau, farm monitoring you, so y'all can
good.
Like you want to.
Good. Thank you, sir. I want to thank you, Dean Angle, for what the College of Agriculture means to this entire state. And very quickly, it concerns me that we still are not aware of and we are not promoting enough everything the College of Agriculture does. For example, one of the counties in my district is having a serious problem with radon uranium. College of Family and Consumer Science has sent the most fabulous minds, the most wonderful folks over to work with constituents in this area with water testing and just in helping them understand what the situation is and how to resolve it. I want to thank you for that. And these are the kinds of programs that a lot of us do not realize we have available. College of Agriculture has meant so much in so many ways to this entire state. I want to thank you for that, and I want to encourage us all to continue promoting and letting not only the folks in our fine state know, but our colleagues around, who live all around the state in urban areas to understand just what the value is of the College of Agriculture. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Holmes. Appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, is this thing on? In this case, Mr. Chairman, I wish we did have some of the media here to help get this message out. And I want to thank you. I know you're working, you and I've talked not privately, but over the phone, about the problem we have in South Georgia with our agents and all. And we were talking with some of your people over at the meeting a while ago about it. And we're in the process of trying to set up some time with the governor to try to help him to understand the dire need that we have in South Georgia for agents, particularly in the emerging crops that we have down there. Horticulture, blueberries has replaced tobacco now is the #1 crop in that area. And then we've got the Vidalia onions. We've got a lot of truck farming coming on. We're setting on a gold mine. We've really got, we can become the OPEC in the farm industry down there, what these Middle Eastern countries are to oil. We can become that to agriculture if we can just, but these are crops that have to have expertise, as Representative Black was talking about a while ago. They got to have experts in that field, as you well know. And I know your hands are somewhat tied because we send a sort of a blank check over there to the college, and I mean to the university system, the regents, and then they kind of spend it the way they want to. And some of our agriculture, I don't think, comes under maintenance and operation, does it? And so that may be an area, that's something we're going to talk with the governor about. But when the chancellor came and spoke before our appropriations committee here a while back, we discussed with him this same issue about the growth of blueberries and olives and things like that. And he committed to go back and try to help us with the blueberries. He said he didn't like the taste of olives, so he wasn't sure how much support he'd give us there, because he was only kidding about that. But he said he understood the problem, and we pointed out we're not holding him accountable because it happened long before he got there. But we have requested some information to find out how much this particular area, in the area of county agents, 4-H, consumer sciences and all that, the percentage that's been cut as compared to other cuts that the university system has made. I haven't gotten that information yet, but if you could help make sure that we get that information, I think that would tell a story, because I'm convinced that we've been cut more in this area than the university system as a whole has been cut. But I want to thank you for all you're doing to try to help us. I know you're doing the best you can with what you've got right now, but we're going to lose a great opportunity if we do not act soon, because right now we have farmers that can be trained to do this, but if we wait 10 years, these farmers are going to die out, and then the children will go elsewhere, and we won't have a force down there that knows how to do it. But we've got them now if we can just get the expertise on one end, and as was talked about in the breakfast this morning, get the labor, get some kind of a labor program to pick the crops once we grow them.
Thank you. I can't speak to disparities of funding, but it is commonly known that one of the differences between the B budget and rest of the university system is that we don't generate tuition dollars. So as budgets are cut, we don't have the ability to increase funds flowing back into the college tuition, and that's really been what has caused the discrepancy. I don't know that it's actually a difference in how the original funding is allocated between various units. I also want to comment on your point that it is true Georgia is becoming the breadbasket of the world, and some of you have heard my speech before, but for a number of demographic reasons, water, population, soils, climate, we are blessed here in Georgia to become the breadbasket. As long as the port of Savannah is deepened and when the Panama Canal is widened, we are going to be in the catbird seat for agriculture in the southeast, and Georgia being the biggest state in the southeast, will be the significant beneficiaries of this. And certainly the forecast that we've had over the last couple of weeks bears out with high commodity prices, and it appears that they will remain high for the foreseeable future. Once we get some of our input costs under control, our farmers are going to be doing pretty well.
We got time for one more. Go ahead.
One other thing I should have mentioned this earlier. Our agricultural forecast will be provided to the Senate and House Ag Committees on February 16th at 11 o'clock. It will be in the Department of Ag 201 Horizon Room, and we'd like to invite all of you there. I think you'll be really happy to see what the future looks like for agriculture.
I had that down to tell them that, but Pat sent everybody an
Email about it. If you look back, it's been probably a week or so ago. But I had it at 11:30. Is it 11? Either way, if you get there at 11, you won't be late. But it's in 201 over in the Ag building. It'd be worth your while just to walk over and see what they've done to the Ag building. One of the guys that he was talking about that took a retirement early was wants to ask a question. So go ahead.
I would appreciate you being here, Dean, and on behalf of my two kids that are in your college, as you know well, doing a great job. I am one of the 370, and but I know you're undergoing a strategic plan. I'd like you to address that and how we can be involved in it and what you're going to do with that.
Well, thank you, Representative Jasper. I appreciate you bringing it up. We are developing a strategic plan for the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences to assess what we will look like in year 2020. A university, a college is a big ship. Our faculty are, for the most part, tenured, and it's hard for us to make changes in the short term. And so strategic planning for us is critical because we need to be making plans now for what we will look like in 2020 and be making decisions now for what we will be doing in 2020. And so we are trying to bring as many minds together and the best minds around the state as possible to hear your vision of agriculture and where it is, where it will be headed off. Dr. Bo Riles, who is sitting in the back, will be contacting many of you to ask you several key questions. We are asking essentially 4 questions of anyone who will listen in the state. Probably thousands of people are being asked these 4 questions, and this will be assimilated into a relatively simple guiding document. So working with Bo Riles, you will have some opportunity for that input. But we also have listening sessions that are going on now all over the state, including one this afternoon over at the Embassy Suites.
Dean, you going to be down yonder tonight?
Yes, sir.
If anybody's got any more questions or think anything else between now and then at 5:30, the College of Ag Advisory Council will be down at the Blue Room. All of us are invited to come down there, and he'll be glad to answer some questions if you think up any or just want to tell him thank you. One more thing. I don't know if y'all heard what I said today down yonder about how lucky we are in Ag to have some Ag background with some of the leadership in the House and all. Jody Redden's here with Senator Isaacson's office. Last time I saw him, he was on the short end of a rope with a big calf on the other end down at Perry. So we're lucky to have somebody like him that understands Ag. Jody, you want to say something right quick?
I'll be brief. I was going to say it is good to be here. It's always good to be in the room with, like I said, the primary interest is agriculture. Just looking at big picture in the state, I think agriculture is in as good a hands right now as I've ever seen it in my lifetime. We're in good shape, save, except for labor input costs and regulations. I think our leadership in the state, including this committee, the governor, the dean, Gary Black, the Business Council, Farm Bureau, I think our leadership right now is as good as I have ever seen. So, and with the challenges that we have, I think we're going to be okay because of that leadership. But, Chairman, I appreciate your leading this committee and all this committee does, along with the Senate and the Department of Agriculture. But anybody got any questions while I'm here?
Anybody have any questions for Joe? You been hanging on tonight?
Yes, sir.
Glad to meet you.
Yes, sir.
Y'all, we are ruining our reputation of having short, quick meetings that other committees job. Thank y'all for coming, sitting through. Has anybody else got anything they want to say?
Tom.
Yes, sir.
It won't take 30 seconds. There was something said that, and I wanted to ask the dean if he would maybe give Laura this charge on this strategic plan thing, but there were several references to technology, and I think some of the times that's what hurts us who are in research and in education is people think you can Google and you got the answer. You can Google, and somebody a while ago said 3 pages of how to understand something. You get hundreds of pages. And I don't know the term to call it, but a county agent, let's just say today, and y'all come up with a better way to call it, Dean, is a filter. Whoever that is, whether it's the homeowner, the farmer, the 4-H or whatever, they go to their county agent, he or she can filter through all that stuff. So instead of spending 3 weeks trying to figure out what to do, they know in a few minutes. And that's a story that needs to get out there, because you can't Google and immediately know the answer.
Thank you for saying that. Is that it? All right, we got 15 minutes to be on the phone. Thank y'all for coming.
Good for you. Back to the floor, huh? All right, good luck. Have a good day.